This is the Engage Your Destiny podcast, where your destiny is our mission. Serving our active military, veterans, and families. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Engage Your Destiny podcast. I'm Ben Peterson, the CEO and founder of Engage Your Destiny, and it is an honor to be with you again this week. We have an incredible guest that's joining us, Kevin Pulaski, who is a 27-year U.S. Army veteran, multiple tours to Iraq, Afghanistan, I assume.
Yep, Kosovo.
Yeah. You were a full bird colonel.
Yep.
You were an infantry officer, you've been a logistics officer, you've been to the Pentagon, recruiter, you've got 3 kids, 27, 24, and 18, and you follow Jesus.
Yes.
Man, that's amazing.
Yes.
So, Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, good to be here.
Yeah. So, you're not in your uniform.
No.
So, hopefully we can dive into some stuff.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, much more comfortable this way.
Much more comfortable this way.
Yeah.
So, tell me where you grew up.
So I grew up in California, Northern California, a little town called Danville. We moved around a lot when I was a kid, but mostly mainly within California. My dad was in the phone business.
Okay.
So about every 3 years we moved. But yeah, I spent my high school years in Northern California, and then my college. I went to Fresno State in Central California.
Wow. And what'd you go to college for?
Criminal justice, or pre-army as we call it.
Okay. That's awesome, man. What did you learn while you were in criminal justice?
So I just thought it was interesting. Right? I've always thought the law was kind of interesting and unique, but I just enjoyed, for me, I hated college. I didn't want to go to college, but my courses were taught by like police officers and correctional officers. So I had to be interested in the topic. Otherwise I would have just never gone to class.
Totally.
Yeah. So my first couple years was not good. And then I found that was something I enjoyed, reading the books. I enjoyed doing the work on it. So that's why I ended up just I thought maybe I'd be a cop. I didn't really have any plans when I went to college. I just went because my brothers and sisters went, and that's just what we were expected to do. So I showed up at college, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
What am I interested in?
Yeah. And so I kind of found it through that. I was like, okay, well, this could be good. So I thought maybe when I graduated, I would do something in the prisons or police officer, but then I ended up taking an Army journey that's lasted me 27 years.
How'd they get you?
So I was on a men's rugby team, and one of the guys I played with was an ROTC recruiter.
Okay.
And so they said, hey, do you want to go to this camp? It's called basic camp. It's, so I wasn't like a full 4-year Army student. I did the summer between my sophomore and junior year.
Yeah.
I went to Fort Knox for 6 weeks for like a little, it's not basic training, but I mean, we had drill sergeants and stuff like that. But so then I went into it and I said, well, this isn't bad. And they were really easy classes, and I needed A's to get my GPA up.
Fair.
So yeah, I wasn't the kid that played with GI Joes, and I wanted to be more of an athlete probably than I wasn't the kid growing up saying I'm going to be a soldier. But those doors just got open for me, and I just walked through them.
Yeah. Wow. So where did you enlist?
So out of Fresno, California. So the way it worked for us is upon graduation from college, the same day we graduated, we get commissioned as a second lieutenant.
Okay.
I spent 3 months still doing college stuff, and then I went to Fort Benning, Georgia in May of 1998.
98.
Yep.
Wow. So this is just a couple years before 9/11.
Yep.
You go to Fort Benning?
I did Fort Benning, School of Boys, for a year. By the time I went through them, I got injured at airborne school, so I had to have some injury time there. But yeah, I went to Bradley Leaders course, and then from there they sent me to Friedberg, Germany, 1st Brigade, 1st Armored Division.
Wow.
Small little Kaserne outside of Frankfurt.
How'd you like Germany?
We were gone a lot, but we were in Germany for 9/11, so it was kind of interesting in that. So we stayed gone. I liked it at the time. I didn't like the weather. It's kind of rainy and wet all the time. But other than that, it was neat because we were in Germany, so it was a very small Kaserne. So the minute you left the gate, you were kind of engulfed in that German culture, and I've always been interested in learning about other people's cultures. So I had a great unit. I had great soldiers, and so I enjoyed it. We spent a lot of time between Grafenberg and Hohenfelds, and then.
So you started your career as an infantry officer.
I did.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And your first assignment was infantry. Was it mechanized infantry?
Mechanized infantry. Yeah.
Okay, in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you find yourself in Germany. You're in a mechanized infantry unit. Where is your faith at this point?
At this point, it's good. Yeah, at this point it's good. So I'm married. I have a young son. So my faith journey is interesting. I grew up Catholic, and through that,
Like devout Catholic or like
Pretty devout. No,
okay.
we went every Sunday.
Got
My
it.
parents still go to mass. And I have nothing against the Catholic Church. I love the Catholic Church. But just kind of my concept of God was this scary thing that I would, whenever I got in trouble, I would go say these set kind of ritualistic type prayers to try to get forgiveness from him. I didn't, and it was my own view of it, but I didn't see it as a God of love. I didn't see it as a God of caring, as a father figure. It was like the high school principal I was very, very afraid of, right?
Yeah.
And anytime I did something wrong, I would immediately, say a couple Hail Marys or Our Fathers and then move on to the next thing, right? So wasn't a big fan of church because of that. And so when I went to college, I stopped going to church completely. So for about 2 years, I stopped going to church. And then I got invited to a church that was in an elementary school gym. And I remember walking in there going, what? And they drink coffee when they're in church. They had like a guy playing a guitar. I'm like, what is this?
This is nuts.
This is not what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And I was very uncomfortable. But through the pastor there, I really learned a lot. And for me, prayer was the biggest thing because he would be like, well, do you pray? I'm like, well, yeah, I say my set prayers. And he's like, no, do you just talk to God? And I was like, no way. Why would I talk to God, right?
And how old are you when you're having this conversation?
21, 22.
Okay.
And so it was through a lot of Bible reading, through talking with him, being in a small group, a men's small group, that I just kind of was overwhelmed by the love of this is the thing that I've been looking for that I didn't know I was looking for, right?
Yeah.
And I found it. And I would love to say that for the last 27 years it's been the perfect walk, but it's not at all. I've had high highs with Jesus and I've had low lows with Jesus. But just because I turned away from him didn't mean that he turned away from me.
Right.
Right. He was always there with me. It was just my choosing to try to do things my own way or go on my own path.
For sure. So you're in Germany. This
Yep.
is your first assignment. Your faith is good.
Yep.
You're walking it out.
Yes.
And how'd you meet your wife?
We met in high school.
High school sweethearts.
Yes.
Wow.
Then she went to college, and then we got married like the year before I graduated.
When was the first time you saw her?
Oh, 1995, 4 maybe.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Like the first time you saw her and were like, whoa, who's
Oh,
that?
she worked next to me.
Okay.
She worked at the store next to me and came in. And so we had kind of, working next to each other, seeing each other every now and again, and started dating. And then I was home for the summer. And then when I went back to college, she eventually moved back down to college with me.
Were you working like a general store?
I worked in a bakery. I made sandwiches. And she worked at at a pet store.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bakery, pets are right next to each
Yeah.
other. And she'd come in to get food?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And then you guys started dating. Mm-hmm. Wow. Got married.
Yep.
And she came with you on the military journey.
She did, but it didn't work out.
I know. We'll get to that.
Okay.
So you're in Germany.
Yep.
Your faith is going well. And what are you learning about leading young soldiers leading up into 9/11?
So I was very fortunate in that I had great non-commissioned officers that, I tell the story all the time. I'm second lieutenant. My platoon sergeant has been in the Army 17 years, so I'm first class Alan Vaughn. And I'm supposed to counsel him, right? And I'm like, what am I doing? And he sat me down and he said, sir, he goes, this is what you tell me. And he wrote his counseling statement out for me to counsel him, right? And so I've just been very blessed and fortunate to have those types of NCOs in my life that it's super intimidating because you're trying to figure out, like, are you a friendly leader? Like, you see like guys like Patton, and then you're I didn't have a leadership identity at all other than the year that I spent, kind of learning about leadership. But leadership's a lot different when you're in the back of a Bradley at 3 a.m. So for me, it was really trying to understand my leadership style, what kind of leader I wanted to be, and then trying to find pieces and parts of other people that I liked and parts that I didn't like. But no, it was really, it is an intimidating thing because as a second lieutenant, you're the dumbest guy there, right?
Oh, for sure.
Right? No one likes you. You have zero respect.
Yeah.
Like wherever you go, people turn away. And so how do you lead through that was pretty unique and interesting for me. But my whole thing was if my soldiers are going to be there, I'm going to be there, right? And so I just tried to be present and they get used to seeing me around. But I didn't ever want to seem like I was above them or that I felt like I was at it, because for me, the only difference is I went to college and they didn't. Like when I see non-commissioned officers, someone paid for my school, someone didn't pay for theirs. I mean, we could so easily have flipped it the other way, right? Based off of how I was raised or brought up. So I've never thought of myself as like, oh, I'm a little bit higher or special because it's just the circumstances that they are.
Yeah. So after being, getting kind of your teeth grinded a little bit, you got NCOs that are supporting you. This is your first assignment. Then 9/11 happens.
9/11 happens.
Where were you?
I was in my office, and someone walked in and said, "Hey, they flew a plane into the Twin Towers." And I'm like, "That's weird." Didn't think anything of it, right? Yeah. And then someone else came in and were like, "I think a second plane just hit the Twin Towers." And so we were in this small caserne, and the only TV we had AFN, right? So you didn't have like normal TV. So it was in the medical clinic. So there was like hundreds of us in this medical clinic trying to watch the news and figure out what's going on. And we didn't know what was going on. We knew it was bad. And so at that point, our brigade commander, he was the highest guy on our post, the 06, said, "Hey, everybody go home and kiss your family goodbye, because we don't know when we're going or where we're going." So we went home for about 6 hours, and then we got locked on our base they locked the whole base down for all of us for like, 10 or 11 days probably.
Wow. And then what happened?
And then we started planning. We didn't know where we were going to go, but we knew we were going to go someplace. So then we started planning.
So then the mission set is be ready to go to war.
For sure.
And what do we need to prep for, even though we don't know what it's going to be?
For sure. Right. It was be ready to, for my job was be ready to move the brigade to Southeast Asia.
Wow.
We don't know where. Start looking at ports, start looking at boats, start looking at, all that kind of stuff. Because it was just, the only known was that we were going.
And
right?
Why Southeast Asia?
That's just where we assumed it was, where the threat was from.
Wow.
But we didn't know. So.
And you're first lieutenant by now, captain?
Yeah, first lieutenant.
You're a first lieutenant. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you got a little more.
Yeah, got a little bit more. And I'm a staff guy now, so I'm not in a platoon. I was a platoon leader, Company XO for a while, and then I moved. When 9/11 happened, I was an assistant S4, so I was a staff officer at that point.
So now you're in a staff officer position. Mm-hmm. And when was the first time that you deployed?
2000, May of 2000 to December of 2000 to Kosovo.
Wow.
So that's when we thought, there was no deployments there, right? So it's interesting how, like, when I came in the Army, you very rarely saw combat patches, right?
Right.
And then through this generation of soldiers, now almost everyone has a combat patch. And now at the tail end of my career, we're starting to see less and less, yeah. Right? So we have this whole generation of my generation, which we just stayed at war.
Everyone went to war.
Everybody went to war. We stayed at war. So at the time, Kosovo was a big deal because we were like, oh man, this is the first real deployment since like Desert Storm.
And that was before 9/11.
Yeah, that was before 9/11.
What was happening in Kosovo at the time?
So there was some internal conflict between different cultures. So there's some Serbs and Albanians that were having issues, but we were in a peacekeeping mission.
Okay.
So we went down there to keep the peace. Yeah. And
show of force.
Yeah, for sure.
Got it. So then when was your next deployment?
I went to Iraq 04.
04.
May of 04 to May of 05.
And what was your mission while you were there?
I was company commander, and so we ran convoys down Route Irish. So we were running 2 or 3 convoys a day. We were at Fob Falcon, and we would go wherever we had to go, but we had to get fuel and ammo and food and all that stuff. So we were just running Route Irish quite often. So yep.
So there's probably a lot of people that are listening that have never heard of Route Irish. I've been in Iraq, so I'm very familiar. Yeah. Take some time to paint the picture of this route, what its purpose was, where it was.
Yeah, it's in Baghdad. It's the main, what we would call, I guess it would be east-west route, right? So you had what they called the Highway of Death, which was the highway that kind of took you into the main city. But inside the city, Route Irish was it was a 4-lane road, 2 lanes going one way. Sometimes they got bigger, sometimes they got smaller. But for us, it connected everything to the airport. And the airport was key because everything came into the airport. So everyone had to go to the airport to get the stuff. As a logistician, we had to go to the airport to get the stuff and then move it back out, right? So it is...
And that's where your 88 mics would be moving things.
Yep. And it is complete chaos. There are lines on the road, but I don't know why. But it's not like traffic stops. It's just you go and you fit in where you get in, and
everyone's driving as fast as they can.
Yeah. And all kind of different vehicles. You have some nice vehicles, some not nice vehicles, big trucks, little cars, all kind of stuff. But yeah.
So Route Irish was an east-west across Baghdad that connected the airport to
where I was at. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And it was, like I said, it was a main road that went into the airport. So eventually you always ended up getting on Route Irish at some point if you're going to the airport.
And Route Tampa was the north-south.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So then on Route Irish, there were, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but there were consistent IED.
Yes.
Yeah. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So it's a consistent threat, right? And so it was an interesting. So I remember I sat in a room one time. I got to sit with a group of people. It was a Korea War vet. It was a Vietnam vet. It was a World War II vet. And it was a Desert Storm vet. And I remember looking at those guys and I was just like, I don't know how you did it. Like, I don't know how you fought that war, right? And then I remember the Vietnam guy looked at me and he goes, I don't know how you did it. He's like, every time you left, you never stopped. Like, you were getting mortared, you're constantly getting rocketed. Like, your war never stopped. Like, we would go to war and then we'd come back and be in somewhat safer conditions. And I guess you just always fight the war that you fight, and you just think yours is easier or not. You know, you watch the stuff about Vietnam, like, holy cow.
Right.
But for me, it was like you almost just I had to convince myself that there's probably a pretty good chance I'm not coming home. And
were you on convoys?
oh, yeah.
Almost every day.
Most every day, yeah. Yeah, and we were very fortunate. I took 247 there. We brought 247 home.
Wow.
So we were very, very blessed and fortunate. But yeah, it was just the constant. It almost became just normal, right? Which is like, it's so weird that you say that. But like, I remember I got there and the company commander that I was replacing, he was like, he said, oh, I'm going to go on this convoy today. And I said, why are you going on this convoy? And he says, well, the base we're stopping at makes milkshakes, and I love milkshakes. And I was like, you're going to put your life on the line for a milkshake? Like, what are we doing? And then 4 months later, here I am like, oh, are you guys going to the milkshake place? Like, hey, let's go, man. I love those
mentality
milkshakes.
changes,
it
man.
completely changes because you just get in there and it's like, and then my replacement comes in behind me and I'm like, oh, we're going to milkshake place. He's like, what? And so it's kind of funny how it comes full circle. But yeah, you get into it, and it's just being mortared. And the first time you get mortared, you put your stuff on and you're in the bunker, and then by month 4, you're like, ugh.
I'm not putting it
No,
on.
I'm just, if it's my time, it's my time, right?
Yeah.
But it is amazing how it becomes a normal thing for you.
Did Falcon take a lot of incoming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. And then your job was just moving things between the airport and then other locations around the country?
Yeah. Other locations around the country. And then, so we had an armored brigade combat team. So we would have to give them fuel and give them gas. And then we would go and pick all the soldiers up from R&R flights. So basically, if it wasn't a combat related mission, someone would call us and be like, hey, you need to go do this, right? Yeah. And so we were kind of that go everywhere, do everything kind of group, because we had vehicles and we could go, and we didn't have tanks. Yep. So we went a lot. Yeah.
Where was your faith at during that first combat
good.
tour?
So I was good. So I had gone through my divorce. I was over there by myself, but I was praying a lot. I was in church at the local church there. Had a couple of chaplain friends that I was with. So it was still at a good place when I was there.
And with your wife, had you already had your 3 kids?
So it's an interesting story, right? So I had with my first wife, we had a son, Tyler, who's 24. And then I got married the second time. And then with her, we had a daughter, Hannah. And then her oldest son, I adopted.
Got it.
Then I have 2 stepsons, Michael and Tony, from that relationship as well.
Wow. So from your first marriage, what did you learn as you came out of that, going through a combat tour, and then you're exercising your faith? Like, what was God showing you through all that?
And it's a lesson that I suck at. But I have just always wanted to, I pour so much into everything else. Army-wise, I just have always poured myself into the Army. And I've always been like I said, if the soldier's going to be someplace, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. And it was always at the behest of my family.
Yeah.
Right. So I always put the job first. And, if there's one thing I could go back and change, it would be that. Because I just always said, well, this soldier needs me, or this leader needs me, or I need to be here for them. When at the same time, there was people in my house that needed me. Yeah. Right. And I wasn't there for them because I decided that I was going to put value in other people, because I always wanted to be that person that was like, oh, well, I'm going to go be there for that soldier. And by doing that, I have lost relations. I wasn't a very good father, wasn't a very good husband, and have lost time with my kids. And for the most part, we're all good. My daughter's great. She's 18. She's going to school in New York. I talked to my son. He's 24. I just saw my oldest son, and the stepsons as well, Michael and Tony. So we're building back together, but I broke it hard, like really hard.
Did you find yourself in situations where you could have been available to them, but you withdrew to go be with the Army?
Yes, a million times. Because it was safe.
Why?
Because it's safe for me. I'm good at it. I'm good at the Army. Like I'm good at being in the Army. Being in that vulnerable place where I have to open up the feelings with my spouse or with my kids, I'm not good at that. So I would go back to where safe was for me and where I'm comfortable, and that's my comfort. Like you could call me tomorrow and say you got to move a million things in 4 hours to go to this place, and I would like, let's go.
Let's figure it out.
Right, let's go. But if you call me tomorrow and say, hey, you need to have a really long emotional talk with your son about becoming a man.
Wow.
That is where I have and still struggle a little bit.
Yeah. How did you learn that? Where did that come from, that inability to not be able to emotionally connect with those around you?
I think for me, it was just, it's where you view your self-worth from, right? And so for me, I viewed my self-worth from the Army and from the military. And I wanted to make my soldiers proud. I wanted to make my family proud. And I just viewed my self-worth in that way. And I could have a vulnerable conversation with a soldier faster than I could have a vulnerable conversation with one of my own kids, which was weird, right? And then my coping mechanism is busyness.
And work.
Is work. I can go to work at 7 a.m. I can come home from work at 8 o'clock at night, and I'm good and I have addictions too, don't get me wrong, but that was my biggest addiction, was staying busy at work. And as long as I stayed busy, I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to think about how I was ruining my, relationship with my spouse and how I was ruining my relationship with my kids. And I'm doing a good thing. I'm in the Army. I'm helping people, right? So then I can justify it to myself, because it's not like I'm, working at some other job where it didn't, come with this, this thing where I'm like, I'm doing something good, man. I'm helping people, right? So yes, I'm neglecting my own family, but I'm helping this family. So it was easier to get caught up in that.
And to justify it.
Right, to justify it. Because I'm like, well, you can't get mad because I just, helped this young man or this young woman get something that they needed accomplished, right? Or I'm doing something that's a positive, societal, looking at positive. So staying busy in the Army has always been, for my culture at least, that badge of honor. Like, if you're walking down the hallway at 6 o'clock, you're getting silently judged by people, right? Like, why are you not busy enough? Which is insane. And hopefully we're changing away from that. And I think we are changing away from that, which is good. But yeah, I grew up in a culture of busyness, and that's how you knew who was good, was the people that got there early, stayed late, that kind of stuff. Wow. And so,
did you, were you able to make that tight emotional connection with your dad?
So my dad and I get along. Yeah. I don't know about tight emotion. I love him. I talked to him yesterday. So we talk a lot about baseball. Love San Francisco Giants baseball. But no, he is like such a good dude. But he was always that kind of, the take care of the work and take care of the family. But we're not in a very emotional family, I would say. Yeah. Like we love each other. My siblings and all, I get along great. We had family dinners at night and we did all that stuff. But we weren't necessarily let's wear our hearts on our sleeves. We're getting better now. Now that we're all getting older, I think we're getting better now.
But when you're in your 30s and you're trying to lead all these things, that was not safe to do that at home.
I don't know if it wasn't safe, or I just chose not to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm putting something on them when if I called my dad right now and I wanted to have an emotional conversation with him, he would 100% do it.
Wow.
Right. It would. So I don't want to put that on. It's on me. Right. I'm the one that's choosing not to.
You chose it.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. 100%. Great ownership.
Yeah. It's hard. Like I said, man, it's hard. It's been a journey, but.
Has that helped your relationships with your kids that you've owned that? In how you've been healing?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that they're seeing it but again, it's relatively new. So I think there's a waiting game, right? Yeah. It's like, is this really, or is he just going to go back to going back to where it was, right? So I don't want to rush the process. So yeah, I'm sure that if you would ask them, there would be some hesitancy on their part. Of course, like, well, he's been good for a couple months before. He's been good for a year before, right? So, but I just have to walk it every day. It's that whole day by day thing, which I hate. I hate when people like, just take it day by day. It's like, man, no, tell me what to do today and let me get it done.
Show me the hill and let me
go
get it.
Right, let me go get it and then I'll go do something else tomorrow, right? So
it's amazing how fast things move, yet how slow progress really is.
For sure. on that stuff,
Yeah.
right? On that stuff. Because it's interesting, a lot of the stuff I do in my job, it's like, oh, we're building the Army at 2030 or the Army at 2040, or our budget cycles is like 4 to 7 years out. So sometimes you just get used to, like, what am I really doing? I don't get a lot of bang for my buck when I'm trying to plan how many tanks the Army's going to have in 5 years, right? You don't ever really get to see a lot of that stuff through fruition. So you would think it would make you grow more patience. But sometimes, like I clean my kitchen a lot because it starts dirty and then it's clean. And I'm like, I enjoy that.
Yeah.
Because I don't get to see a lot of difference a lot of times in what we do, like an immediate change difference, like mowing a lawn. Although I don't have a lawn right now, but things like that I kind of enjoyed because I'm like, man, there's very few things in my life I can look at and be like, I did that, right? It started this way and now it's that way. And to your point, that's this journey thing, man. I want to do that. I want to look at it and be like, okay, well, I was bad. Now I'm good. Now let's move on to the next thing, right? And you can't. You just got to do it day by day.
So your journey started to darken, and it started to get worse.
Yes.
And take me through that. How your journey began the light began to darken.
Afghanistan, 2008 to 2009. I was the hero flight guy. So if someone was killed, my job was to get them home, to process them, to get them from where they were at on the battlefield back to Bagram where we were at. And then from Bagram, we would get them to Dover. And then we would,
logistics.
Yeah. So I was surrounded by so much death. And it became normal for a while. And then it just weighed on me. Like just this weight. Like every day you walk in and we have a whiteboard and you would look on the whiteboard and be like, oh man, there's another one. There's another one. There's another one. Oh, we had 3 today. We had 7 today. Right. And we were losing a lot of kids over there. Soldiers, not kids. But so it just, this constant death was over me. And I didn't understand why God would let that happen. I didn't understand why any of this stuff was going on. So instead of just having the faith and like, all right, well, I'm not God, God's God, and he'll figure it out, I wanted to blame him. And so my solace was I would run 8 miles around that freaking base most nights, and I would argue with him. Like I would stop and just scream at God and be like, why the F are you doing this? Like, why am I here? What am I doing? Like, if this is the point of all of it, right, then what? And so that's where, for me, I didn't get over, so PTSD, right? But I didn't get over it. I didn't seek help for it. I just stayed busy with work. So when I came home, I had all that stuff pent up in me. And like a good soldier, I just tamped it down, right? Tamp it down. Well, then it's going to come out at some point, right? So for me, it was coming out in my relationships at home. It was coming out probably in my relationships with my family a little bit. So I never, through both regular mental health counseling and through my faith, I just tamped it all down. And I just said, wake up and rinse, wash, repeat, do it again.
But it wasn't getting any better.
No, it's getting worse.
So just so I'm clear, so take me through a day. So you're at Bagram. Mm-hmm. You get up in the morning and you would go into your office where there'd be a whiteboard.
Yep.
With the names.
Yeah.
And you oversaw.
So we would have to make sure that those the remains got to Bagram, and then I would be on the phone with the Air Force saying, hey, I need a plane to get this hero home. So I would be coordinating with the Air Force, like, hey, I need this tail number to come over here so I can put the human, because most things when you're dealing with planes, they want 72 hours out. So that's the way we plan, right? So if I want to move something on an airplane, I usually plan it like 5 to 7 days from now because I know when the stuff's going to get there. So anytime that you have to do anything in a tighter timeline, which obviously remains were always a tighter timeline, then that's what we would have to do. So yeah, I would spend a lot of time once we figured out when the remains were going to get to Bagram. Usually the unit would bring the remains. Yeah. At Bagram, we would have a ceremony, distinguished ceremony. So we would bring the remains down. All the soldiers would come out on Disney Drive, it was called, and salute the remains, and then the remains would get on the plane.
And you would be a part of that every time?
Every time. I had to get that plane.
When this remains, which it could be very little is left, or it could be a whole body, mm-hmm. and you would be there facilitating all of these soldiers saying goodbye.
So I would do a lot of that stuff behind the scenes, calling the planes and getting all that stuff, but I was getting beat up all the time because they're like, hey, we need to know when the plane's going to get here because we got to tell people when to be on the road, right? So there was a lot of additional pressure on that too, but yeah, so that was that was, I mean, I did other things, brought people into and out of Afghanistan, so did the deployment stuff and ran some helicopter routes that we managed logistically. But that was the big takeaway of that job that I had. And I was there for 18 months.
18 months every day.
I did a 15-month for deployment, and then I ended up switching to a different unit. So I did an extra 3 months. So yeah, I was paying rent over there.
Every day facilitating people saying goodbye and getting remains back to the States.
Yes.
And that just ate away at your soul.
Mm-hmm. 1,000,000%.
Hey guys, thank you so much for being a part of the Engage Your Destiny family and listening to the podcast. I want to share with you an exciting new development as God has opened the doors for us to launch our program at Fort Carson, Colorado this summer. Fort Carson, Colorado is the home of the 4th Infantry Division and the 10th Special Forces Group. These are some of the most elite warriors in the world. So we are expanding our program and we need your help. Just for $44 a month, you can support a soldier, feeding them, loving on them, getting the material support, giving them the opportunity to go to Engage Your Destiny retreats and events to bring healing into their life and transformation to their faith. So I want to invite you into this, to join the team and to join the fight as we are expanding our program. And we need to remember that those who are willing to die for their country deserve an opportunity to know the God who died for them. So join us in this and let's advance this ministry together. And so you come home from that tour, and where are you at?
So I'm back at Fort Campbell. I'm ready to be home.
Are you still married to your second wife?
Yep. So kids are good. And then I just, I ended up having to go back and forth to Kuwait a bunch over the next year. So did that for like a year. I was a battalion XO of a unit. And so spent a lot of time going back and forth from Kuwait. And then after that, I went to school. I went to an Air Force school called Air Command and Staff College. And I lived by myself because I didn't want it. It was only a year-long assignment. And I didn't want to bring my family for a year.
A lot of military people do that.
So did the Geo Bachelor thing that we call it, right? So I got an RV and I parked it on the back of this family camp. And that's when it was like, okay, I'm alone. The school, I'd go to school for like 3 or 4 hours. I'd read for like 3 or 4 hours. But man, that's when that loneliness and
the demons come.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 1,000,000%. That's where the addictions started to get really bad, right? And all that, because I didn't want to share because I didn't want to look weak, right? So I didn't want to tell people that I'm struggling. I was afraid, like, oh, if I tell someone I have PTSD, they'll pull my clearance. They won't let me work in the military anymore. So and then I had shame over it, right? Because I see other people come home and they're normal. So why am I not normal, right? And so I had shame. I had survivor guilt for why did I get to come home and these other people didn't, right? So I just had kind of this bevy of emotions all going on at the same time. And it didn't have any place to go, right? And I wasn't thinking about God at all because I was mad because I'm like, man, I got to drive 5 hours to get home, take care of the family stuff, and then I'm driving again. And it was just, it was not, hindsight being 2020, I should have probably done that differently. But yeah, so it was, when I was going to church, but I wasn't listening.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, we had a good church, but I wasn't involved as I needed to be. I was just making sure that the kids saw me at church because I want them to be,
And you were isolated.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. 1,000,000%.
And was that the darkest time in your life? Or did it get worse?
So there was a couple other dark times, but no, that was probably for me the worst. Yeah, that would probably be for me the worst, but like I didn't think about suicide when I was there because of my kids. I wouldn't do that to them because they were still in elementary school and high school. So I didn't have suicidal ideations when I was there. So my first, I don't know if it's called a suicide attempt, but when I was in Afghanistan, I was so tired that I would take my 9, I would unload it. So I knew it was unloaded, but I would put it to my head and pull the trigger to see how hard it would be.
And to feel the trigger and the press.
Yeah. That's when I was at my lowest in Afghanistan. I was like, so I'm like, I just need to, so that's kind of some of the weird thoughts I had going through my mind. But yeah, so that happened in Afghanistan. I was just so freaking tired. And then so then when I went to school, it was a dark place, but I had other things to live for that I didn't want to do that for my kids.
And how did you get to a point, if you wouldn't mind sharing, about trying to take your life?
I didn't know. I was just lost. I was just so lost, and I just never thought that I was going to get out of it. And I never thought, I felt like I was a disappointment to everybody. I felt like I was struggling bad with alcohol addiction, like deep alcohol addiction.
Yeah.
And I was drunk all the time, and then I was embarrassed and shameful about that. And it was just, I was just like, yeah. And my kids have grown now. I don't really have, after my divorce, I didn't have a great relationship with any of them at the time. And I just was like, man, I'm good. Like this world would be better off without me. That was 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
And what happened the night you tried to take your life?
I smashed my head into the ground until I knocked out.
So explain that to me. How like, were you drunk at the time?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just began driving your head into what?
Driving my head into into a hardwood floor in my house. And then I sent a picture to my wife at the time of me in a pool of blood. And I was like, it's over. And then through the grace of God, people came and got me. And
so your goal was to do that and bleed out and die.
Yeah. Like I'm not a gun owner, and I wouldn't want to stab myself. So I'm like, I mean, that's just the irrational alcoholic though. That is like, okay, well, this seems like a good idea. Let's just smash our head into the ground, right?
Wow. So you're lying there in a pool of blood, and how did your neighbors or friends find you?
I texted a picture because I wanted them to know, like, hey, I'm gonna die. And so I texted a picture. I don't know if I still have it. I probably don't. But I had texted a picture, and so they came running over and saved my life. And I had 17 staples in my head.
Wow.
Lied about it to my work. Told them that I fell. Like, didn't tell anybody that it was a suicide attempt. I said, I told them I tripped over my dog. Because there was just a lot of shame in that as well, right? And still, that wasn't my wake-up point. It was just like, okay, well, this isn't good. Like, you got to do something. But I just couldn't get out of the cycle.
What happened next?
So I ended up, long story short, I moved to Detroit, and again, in a pretty intense battle with alcohol. And my body started to shut down, physically shut down, because of how much I was drinking. And so I couldn't drink alcohol because I would throw up. Anything I ate or drank, I would throw up. And so I went through horrible detox because I couldn't get alcohol. So I'm literally trying to pound vodka while I throw up on the ground, going through detox, doing all this. And so, and I was like, man, I'm going to die. Like, I'm going to physically die, and I need to get help. And so I randomly found a rehab facility on Facebook, and I called them and I said, do you take TRICARE? And the lady was like, I don't know, let me see. And so then this other really nice lady got on the phone, and she's like, we can take you. And I said, okay, I'll be there in 2 days. And if I wouldn't have done it, like if I wouldn't have done it, I would have never, if my body would have never been sick, I'd still be a raging alcoholic to this day.
Your body just couldn't take it anymore.
Couldn't take it anymore. Right. And so, and it was funny because, like, even when I got there, I get to rehab, and like 7 days into it, the lady was like, if you left tomorrow, would you drink? I was like, of course I would. Why would I not? Like, yeah, duh. It's what I do, right?
Yeah.
But it was, I had to deal with shame and guilt and all that real stuff that I didn't deal with, right? And so it took me a 35-day inpatient rehab facility where I did EMDR therapy, we did group therapies, we did all that stuff, and it was vets, right? So because I have done a little bit of counseling before, but it's like sometimes you go in there as a vet and you're like, hear other people sharing their story, and it's like, oh, well, my husband, yelled at me yesterday, or my child was misbehaving, and I'm like, ooh, so don't bring up dead kids, right?
Yeah,
so,
I don't belong here.
Right. Yeah. Right. So me being able to share openly in that environment, and then not having the judgmental look, but like, I get it look. So for me, that was huge that I was able to be in that facility, and then I was able to get the help that I needed.
Wow.
But yeah, if it wasn't, that was God's way. I honestly think that was God's final wake up call for me. He's like, dude, you get one more shot at this thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to break you down to a point where you can't do it. Like, you just can't, because you're wasting your life. You're wasting your passion. You're wasting everything I've blessed you with. And he's blessed me with a ton.
Yeah.
Like talents,
Favor.
yeah, grace, like all of that. And he's just like, dude, just stop.
Yeah.
Right. So this was, him breaking my hip and wrestling with me next to the river was him doing that to me. Right. That was his way of breaking my hip. And I listened finally, and I went to get help.
When you were in rehab, were you praying? Did you pray in rehab?
Yes.
Okay. So your prayer life was starting to come back.
Yes.
And what was that like for you?
A lot of tears. A lot of, I didn't, it wasn't like, it was more ramblings at times. It was I felt a lot of guilt. I let a lot of people down. I let him down. So there was a lot of pain and guilt in that.
Yeah.
And then there would be moments of thankfulness and forgiveness, right? But I had to forgive myself.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest struggle for me, because I keep going back to, it's like, well, I can't unring the bell, right? I can't go back and make myself a better father and a better son and a better brother and a better husband. And I can't go back and unring all those bells, right? And so that was kind of one of the struggles for me, is like, once I've done something wrong, I'm like, oh, well, it's over. I'm never going to be able to fix it. So trying to forgive myself, and it seems shallow, because it's like, I'm going to call this person who I was not nice to for a long time, and I was a shitty dad, and I'm going to tell them to please forgive me.
Yeah.
Right? Because I chose to be a drunk. Like, that's a horrible, like, that it's, to me, it's like so shallow.
Would you ever be drunk in front of your kids? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, at night, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, like, I tell a story all the time. When I was in rehab, my daughter sent me a water bottle, and the note said, "I finally want you to have a water bottle that doesn't smell like vodka." So what kind of dad is that, right? But I had to be able to be forgiven.
What was her motive in sending you that? Was that guilt, or was that,
No.
Dad,
Love.
I want...
I'm proud of you. Rehab built my relationship back with her.
Yeah.
Because she was like, you're finally doing something about it.
Yeah.
Like, you're not just talking about it. Like, you're not going to dump alcohol out the sink for a few days, right? Like we've done in the past, right? And say, oh, I stopped drinking for a year, and then I would stop drinking for 2 years, and then. But this was the first time that anyone in my family, and like for me, I had to be open and honest with my parents. Like, I had to call my parents and say, hey, Mom, I'm going to rehab.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an alcoholic. Like, that was a hard conversation. That was a really hard conversation to have with my dad, because I just felt like this huge disappointment.
Yeah.
And I don't want to disappoint them. But yeah, so for me, that forgiveness is an understanding that there's going to be pain, and it's not quick, but I had to kind of forgive myself, which was hard, and I still struggle with that, right?
Yeah.
But trying.
How was it for you with your daughter when you looked into her eyes and said, I'm sorry? Will you forgive me?
It was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I keep trying to do it every day. I mean, and we have, like I said, we have good time. I saw her over Christmas. Over Thanksgiving she came. And so we're just trying to be honest with you, I kind of avoid it a lot. I just try to make it as normal as we can.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I had to tell her that I was sorry and that your dad screwed up, and I'm going to try to be better and be patient with me.
What was her response?
Loving. She's a good kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's, I think she has more faith in me than I do, to be honest with you. But I think she just wants me to be healthy and happy.
Yeah.
Right. And the same thing that we want for everybody, right?
And she wants you
healthy and
around.
happy too. Yeah.
How's that feel to be wanted?
Weird. Right? Weird.
Did you feel wanted when you were in Afghanistan?
No.
Why?
Because it was just, for me, it was just that constant level of like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like, I show up here and I feel guilt. I've always been someone that kind of felt other people's guilt for them, because I'm like, oh man, there's like 5 people that work for me, and I can't believe these guys have to go through this stuff all the time. And so I would always focus on trying to make their lives easier and their lives better. And I've always tried. I suck at taking care of myself. I've always tried to been the one person that takes care of other people.
Yeah.
Because then I can go to bed at night and be like, oh, look what you did today. Checklist. You helped this guy and you helped that girl. So, good for you. And so,
But
yeah.
do they really want me? Do
Right.
they really need me? There's a needing and then there's a wanting.
For sure.
My family needs me, but do they really want me?
Right.
Yeah. So coming out of rehab, what did what did you start to develop in your faith when it came to receiving forgiveness?
Patience, which is don't ever pray for patience. That's the worst thing you could ever do. But yeah, so patience, and it just goes back to like this. I just like when I think of Jesus, it's just this love, it's this light, it's this glow. He's like, look, man, I did, what I did on that cross was for old you and for new you.
Yeah.
Right. And it is a love that I can't explain to people. I can't, because it's just so amazing until you felt that love, like, you don't get it. Right. And so for me, it's just this, hey, you're not that bad. Like Jesus walking next to me being like, hey, Kevin, you're not that bad a dude. Like you made some mistakes, but you're okay. And you're going to be okay, right? You're going to be better. You're going to be a good dude again. You just got to stay with me. You got to stay patient. You got to do all that stuff, right? So that to me has been, a lot of my stuff is, worship music, and I do a lot of praying and try to, focus my time on God. But a lot of it is just me thanking him. My son said it best, Tony, my stepson, when we talked about prayer one time, and he was going to do a prayer for us at one of my change of command ceremonies. And I said, are you good, buddy? And he's like, I said, you going to write it down? He's like, no, Dad, I'm going to wing it. And I'm like, ooh, you think you should wing it? And he said, or Daddy Kev, he said, if you don't know what to do when you're praying, just say thank you. And I was like, that's pretty profound.
Yeah.
So I do that a lot, man. I thank him a lot for.
So you've got these kids that are wise, they're loving, they're forgiving.
Yep.
And you're a workaholic, full bird kernel, recovering alcoholic.
Yep.
You had to have taught them something good, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
think
look
so.
at these kids that are showing up for you in a way that,
Oh, for sure.
you have not been able to show up for them
Yeah.
until now as you're healing.
Right.
What do you think you were able to transfer into them in the midst of your mess?
Right. I think for me, I think they did see me show up for everybody else. I think they would have wished that I showed up for them more.
Absolutely.
But they saw me showing up. They knew that, like, they would know that if someone called their dad to go help somebody, that he would go and help it.
Yep.
Right? And we had periods of great, we would go and we would buy, a bunch of coats, and we would go hand them out to the homeless, and we would volunteer, and we would do church stuff together, right? And there were periods of my journey where it was good, and we were in church and we were volunteering, and they were seeing the positive side of that, right? So I think that there's some goodness in it. Yeah, but it really is everybody's own journey. And so I do. I think I'm hopeful that there are some, there are some good times and there's some bad times, obviously, but yeah, that they were able to at least. I mean, I showed up and I served every day, right? Yeah. For 27 years. That's a pretty cool thing. And so I think there's some benefit in that.
Absolutely. So right now, you're a part of PACOM.
TACOM, yeah.
TACOM.
Yep.
Which oversees what?
So we say if a soldier can drive it, shoot it, or wear it, we sustain it.
Drive it, shoot it,
wear
it, we sustain it.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so most of the maintenance stuff. Like we're the people when someone goes and orders a part, like when you go to the motor pool and you order a part,
yeah.
And you're like, it goes to some person that's wearing tennis shoes that's going to tell you whether or not you're going to get that part. We're those people.
And you get it all over the world. Mm-hmm. And so on a day-to-day basis, what problems are you trying to solve?
So currently, we're trying to solve if we're going to go into another fight, how we can fix forward. So when we talk about maintenance, so if you think of a tank, there's certain things we used to be able to do when I was younger. We used to be able to fix certain parts of tanks, and we can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
For a bunch of different reasons. But we're trying to think through if we go to our next fight, which would be a near-peer competitor. We're assuming, right? So if I take that mindset that we're going to fight a near-peer competitor,
we're talking Russia and China.
China, right? So if I take that mindset and I say, okay, well, I'm going to take 10,000 tanks. I'm going to put them in China. How do I fix them? How do I maintain them? How do I sustain them?
Wow.
And what are ways that we can, new, innovative, creative ways that we can determine, because, it's going to come on you faster than we probably know. And so we need to figure it out now, right? So there's a sense of, we got to make sure that we're moving out at a speed that is, because we don't want to be late to need.
And maybe this is a relevant question, and maybe one you don't want to answer, but why would those countries want to go to war with us?
So that's a great question, right? So why did Sparta go to war with Athens? Because one of them could only be Sparta, right? So it's, I forget the name of it, the Thucydides concept. which is basically military history concept, which says two great powers are always going to go to war at some point because there can only be one great power.
There can only be one great power.
Right. So it's sheer happenstance that it would happen. Now I hope it doesn't happen, right? And yeah, it would not. I don't know why you would want to come to war with us. Having seen the military might that we bring to people, I wouldn't want to go to war with us.
How have you seen the technology advance even in the last few years?
Yeah, it's crazy. So it advances so fast and it's hard because the Army is a bureaucracy by trade, right? Because we have to do contracting and we have to do, but by the time we build a system, like say you want to put a radio, we just built a brand new system. It's called the M10 Booker. It's a light tank, right? Well, we designed that system like 10 years ago to be built now.
Wow.
Right. So it's hard for us by the time it takes us so long to kind of contract and build, which is good because we want there to be checks and balances in the process. We want to make sure it's a clean, good process. But it is hard for technology to come, like if you just walk up to me and said, oh, hey, Kevin, I got this coolest widget in the world, right? You should get it. Well, I can't just be like, oh, cool, I'm in the Army, I'm going to buy that widget, right? Yeah. I've got to test that widget. I got to contract it out. Does anyone else make that widget? So it's hard for the bureaucracy to catch up, but I think we're doing leaps and bounds of error. I think we're understanding, like with AI is a great example, right? Everybody, that's the answer to the question when everyone says, what's the future of AI? I don't even know what that means, but yeah. So yeah, I think we're doing better with it because we're able to, and we're getting younger, and the younger generations are the ones that are developing that technology. Forward. Right.
What do you think the future of warfare looks like?
I think it's a lot of unmanned. I think it's a lot of drones. I think it's from everything that we do in the supply chain. I think it is unmanned. We're building unmanned trucks, right? We're building. So do I ever think it's going to be robot dogs fighting robot dogs? No. But I do think that there is going to be a much, much higher reliance on like non-armored vehicles. But at the end of the day, someone has to plant a flag and say, I own this piece of ground.
A person does.
Right, a person does. I mean, you can have a drone fly over the land, but until a person plants a flag and says, this is mine, it's not yours.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we're still going to need soldiers to go and Marines and airmen and all of them to go over there and do those things. But I do think that I think, network capability, how they're able to infiltrate all networks. I think that there's going to be a lot of cyber stuff that'll get done to like the banks. And so you'll have a lot more pressure on the homeland that you wouldn't have in like World War II, right? So now they're going to come after, I would, if I was them, I would come after my, the banking system, the power grid. I would try to, any of that stuff. I would try to impact that because really it's the will of the people, right? So you want to get the will of the American people to say, hey, we don't want to be there anymore. That's probably the only way they could win.
Yeah. How does faith and your view of believing in God, who Jesus was, how does that impact everything you just said and how the world is changing? So
for me, it doesn't. God made me this way for a reason, right? God made soldiers to be soldiers, right? And so I've never had a problem with, like, obviously death is horrible, but I've just always felt like this was kind of his calling in my life is to do this job.
Yeah.
And I don't so there's the old Billy Graham saying or story where he talks about at one point he just put the Bible open on a tree stump and was like, I don't understand all of this. Like, I don't get all of it, but I'm going to believe and have faith in it. So for me, the Bible is not a science book. It's not a rule book. It's not a history book. It's a love story from God to his people, right? Wow. From the first chapter to the last chapter, Jesus is in it. And that thing is, and if we try to read it as a history book or a science book, then you're just going to miss the point, right? Because that's not the point of the book. So for me, it's just, man, he is always there. He's always present. And, I hope that we don't get to armed conflict again. I really hope that we don't. I hope that we can find ways to come together. But yeah, I don't. Who he is and in my life is constant because he's been constant forever since the beginning of time.
Wow. And how does that story / narrative impact the advancement of warfare and killing capabilities and robots and all of that? How does that influence that?
So I think it's an interesting debate, right? So we used to have that debate kind of with, like in vitro fertilization. It's like, well, are we playing God by having people go get are you playing God, right? So are we playing God? But if God's the one that developed us to develop the technology, then are we playing God, right? Because if he didn't want that technology to exist, we wouldn't have developed it. So that's kind of the way that I see things like that. Is it's just like, okay, well, if God wants us, if he didn't want us to have it, we probably wouldn't have it. Or I mean, now could evil people use it for evil things? 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
That's free
Then
will.
you need good people to go combat that.
Right.
Tell me about your view when it comes to working with soldiers, and the work that you do dramatically impacts their life, right? I mean, if they shoot it, wear it, what was it?
Drive it.
Drive it, shoot it, wear it.
wear it.
I mean, your work dramatically impacts their livelihood of what they're going to use.
Yes.
And so how do you approach, the soldier's daily life and understanding their perspective and how what you're going to supply them with is going to impact them? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So for me, it's because I've done it, right? I mean, I've been deployed.
You've
I've
been
in
on
those
Route
places.
Irish
I've been,
as a captain?
Yeah, I was an OC. I mean, so I've done so many. Been very blessed in my Army career to have done so many different jobs. But I just go back. I've always gone back to, man, if that's my kid, like I would want the guy to stay an extra 30 minutes to make that phone call to get that there, right?
Yeah.
So if that's my personal, and so I just try to always view it through that lens as that's someone's son or daughter, right? That's someone's brother, that's someone's kid, and we want to do whatever we can to make sure that they get best piece of kit, that we use the money properly, that it's all done above board. Because at the end of the day, that's, and having been a former recruiter and look parents in the eye and say, the Army's going to take care of your son or daughter, right? Yeah. I've had that conversation with many different parents in many different living rooms, and I want that to be true.
Wow. Amazing. Last question.
Yeah.
When it comes to the characteristics or the character of Jesus, what are you most drawn to about him?
Freedom. I never had it. That's my struggle my whole life. It's feeling that freedom to be who I want to be open with my communication, to not be guarded, but that and I fought for freedom. Like freedom gets thrown around like this word, like we're gonna go to Cracker Barrel and see it painted on a wood sign, right? But there is no true freedom like there is in Jesus.
Wow.
His freedom to allow us to, he knows what we're going to do and he allows it, right? But his love, love is huge. But for me, it's that freedom that I am his, and there's nothing that I can do to not be his, right? And there's nothing that he wouldn't do to not be mine, right? And so that's a power of that. That's freedom. When I talk, and you've, seen kids on the side of the road. And I remember when we were in Iraq, they did the blue fingers because it was the first time they voted, right? And so I've seen all this different thoughts of freedom, but not like Jesus.
I find it fascinating because I'm sitting with a man who, you drank yourself to the point of alcohol was killing you, and that your body was rejecting it so hard, and then you were trying to get it back in, and to beat your head into the ground to try to kill yourself covered in a pool of blood. And it's like, that is a picture of his love and grace.
1,000,000%.
And our absolute depravity, and how he will come and hold you in that moment and say, I love you.
Right. That's it.
Yeah.
1,000,000%.
And so as I say that, what comes to your mind?
Just like the emotion, I just go back to, I've disappointed so many people in my life, but I've never disappointed him. I think he's been sad. I think he's disliked some of my choices.
Yeah.
Obviously. But you can't, that's an undisappointing love. How crazy is that? How radical is that, right?
Wow.
And to me, radical, I love that term about Jesus too, that he was such radical, but he just loved on people.
Uh-huh.
Right? That was it.
And he gave people freedom.
Right. Yeah. There's one story where the lady, touches his cloak and she's healed, right? And my favorite part of that story is Jesus looks at her and says, daughter.
Yeah.
Because you believe, you're healed.
You're healed.
And that's the first time she's probably ever heard the word daughter.
Wow.
Because she was ostracized, right? She had a disease, and so she was ostracized. And so in that moment, that one little word for me, I don't know why it sticks out to me, but I'm like, man, that was probably cooler for her to hear being called daughter by this guy than the healing, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the kind of radical love that, like, no one would want to call this lady daughter. She's gross and she's sick, and but he's like, oh, you're mine. You're mine.
You're mine.
And I'm gonna heal you.
I want you.
Right. Wow. Because of your faith.
It also, Jesus coming to a group of people who were captives, who were under Roman rule.
Right.
They were not free. And he came into that setting.
Yeah.
That's the setting that God chose
Right.
for his son.
Yeah.
And it's like all the odds stacked against. I mean, he was setting people free who weren't free,
Right.
that were then going to become free, change the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, it's been an honor to have you on the
Thanks,
show.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for your vulnerability
Yeah, for sure.
and your strength, and I'd love to pray for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So, Lord, thank you for my friend Kevin, and I thank you for just the redemption that you have brought into his life. And God, I thank you that, and I just declare over him that the redemption he's experienced is just the beginning, and that, Lord, he is going to experience a greater redemption through his story and through his experiences. That you will work it all together for good, and that you will do exceedingly abundantly above anything that this man could ask, want, or imagine, and that he'll see it in his lifetime. Lord, bless this man and bless this show, and let this story go forth in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you.